Okay, so welcome back to the Gospel Answer series. We are simply trying to to present the answer that the gospel gives to the different matters of interest that it addresses. And the very primary one is truth. The gospel makes this clear claim to be the truth. In Ephesians 1:13, Paul said, "We believed after we heard the word of truth, the gospel of your salvation." And so he's saying the reason why you believe the gospel is because it proved itself to be the truth, and then you accepted it as such. Now, we went to another text that discussed the same thing, and which is where Paul opened up better the way the gospel proves itself to be the truth. But what we had to do first was to examine the truth about what? And what we settled in our last episode or video was the truth about existence. You could say the truth of God, but at that point you're already stating one of the answers as the question, right? So he's not just giving us the answer to the truth of God about this, how God is. He's giving us the answer to the truth of existence. This is so important for the confidence of the believer that you must understand that the message of the gospel is giving you the navigation system about the world. Let me put it that way. It's giving you the world view, the way to think about the world. And it's not just doing so by imposition, it's not doing so merely dogmatically. Now, we might get to the realm of revelation, and when we get there rightly, we can see things that are held without the kind of evidence, empirical evidence, or the logical evidence that we can find for other things, right? But it must be built on the solid foundation of the gospel proving itself to be truth. So, if the gospel is answering the question of the truth of existence, and we have even seen it's making the conclusion and answer of God, how does it do so? Does it indeed prove itself to be so? Of course, there's a statement I like to make. If the gospel is truth, then it is Lord over all, even over those who don't believe it. This is the weight of truth. So, the lordship of the word or the lordship of Christ Jesus and the lordship of the gospel is premised on his truth, not just on an imposing claim that he makes of himself. It's if it is truth, then it is Lord over all, even over those who don't believe it. Now, a core text I like to point out in this regard is 2 Corinthians 13 and in verse 8, where you find Paul saying that we can do nothing against the truth but for the truth. Whatever anyone does against the truth is invariably for the truth. Say someone doesn't believe, I like to use the example of gravity, and the person acts against it. Your action against gravity does not change the fact that you are going to still be affected by it. You are still doing it for gravity. Is unmoved and unchanged about it. So if the gospel is true, the same thing is true. Of course, what we have to see at this juncture is, does the gospel prove as it claims to be the truth? Now, let's go back to our text, the one we have been centered on recent, which is Romans chapter 1. We have looked at Romans 1:16. It calls the gospel power of God's salvation for those who believe, for it reveals the righteousness of God to those people who believe. Then verse 18, those who do not believe, we are told, verse 18, are left to the wrath of God because they are suppressing the truth. And it makes quite a big claim that the reason why they are in that situation is their suppression of something that is evident to them. The very word suppress already means he's saying it's there, but they are suppressing it, right? Katekode. It is something present, but they are suppressing, they are rejecting it. And it shows us why he's confident that this truth is on their heart. In verse 19, it says, because what may be known of God was manifest in them. What may be known of God was manifest in them. And I told you, in them cannot be in their kidneys or their liver. It's talking about in their minds, for God has shown it to them. That's observation. So it's manifest in them, reason, for God has shown it to them, observation. The observation and reason is leading to the conclusion of God. They ought to know how. Verse 20 gives us the reason. So we're going to look at that quickly. And there are two reasons we are going to notice here. In verse 20, it says, for since the creation of the world, his invisible attributes are clearly seen. Since the creation of the world, his invisible attributes are clearly seen. You can notice observation again, being understood, reason, by the things that are made. Now, I know you might not have gotten it immediately, but there are two things Paul has pointed out here. Since the creation of the world is implying the finitude of the world since its creation. So he's saying it is finite, it has this time factor to it, as a pointer of finitude. Not only time will prove its finitude, you could see its finitude in matter, space, even. So it says, since the creation of the world, his invisible attributes are clearly seen, being understood by the things that are made. And that's the second argument Paul points out. There's one where he's saying the finitude of the world should make you know that it's a world that is from God. The second claim is because it's a world that is made, which is a claim of the contingency of the world. I'm going to explain that in the next video. I hope. I may not get to it. We'll see. The contingency of the world is proof that it must have come from God. But let me wrap up at this point. So I'll put forth the two things Paul is saying. I'm going to take you to the Old Testament text to show you it's not unique to him. It's something that's been the standard procedure of the gospel improving itself. This is why we believe in God, and then what other things we believe to be the truth is because we can observe and reason that there must be this conclusion of God by virtue of this. Okay, so I do hope you got the point that one, truth is known by observation and reason. You know whether this is blue by first observing it. Someone asks, what's the color of that book is holding? You have to observe it, you have to look at it. Then also, you know by reasoning on it. So you look, then you think you know what is called blue, and then you're able to give the answer. Right. I trust as at now we have enough to work with. Truth is known by observation and reason. What Paul said we observe is the finitude of the world, of the cosmos, as well as its contingency. Things I would explain in subsequent video. We continue the Gospel Answer series on the next one. See you there.